I've never had an issue with that before. So,
Yeah, when you try to throw a bunch of words into something, that ends it.
it just makes it harder on it. All right, guys, welcome back to the Beehive Biker Podcast, episode 7. Today we're talking here with Randy Singletary. Randy, golly, I can't even get it right. Randall Singletary.
Randy's good.
Talking about MSF courses and training to be a better rider. So,
Yeah, we can go with train to be a better rider. Or we can just be, how do you learn to ride? How do you get your license? We start right there with it. I've been Motorcycle Safety Foundation rider coach since October of 2021. I've been a Harley Davidson Riding Academy instructor since April 2023. Both of them are processes to just get into. But, before that, before you can even be a coach, you got to be a rider, right? So back in 2009, after my second deployment in the military, I came back from Iraq and I went over to the state of Alabama because at the time I was in Mississippi and they were still recovering from Katrina, the hurricane that hit them in 2005. Went over there, took the Motorcycle Safety Foundation Riders course, which was a prerequisite for licensing in the state of Texas. You could take it anywhere nationwide. Once you got that completion card done, just go over, take a little written test, and get your license right. And me and my ex-wife went and took it together. It was a good 2.5 hot days out on the tarmac in front of a nursing college where we learned, how to use our clutch and turn our head and brakes and throttle control, all that good stuff, make big sweeping curves. And it was it felt like it was a 30 exercise course. It just went on and on and on. And then I got my first bike. I got a little Honda VLX 600. It's a great little cruiser bike, great start-off bike, carburetor, choke, got to let it warm up, this, that, and the other. And got my license when I was in Texas, which is where I'm originally from. Just started riding out there. And I kept hold of that bike till the summer of 2012 and loved it. Man, I made silly trips on it, right? 100 miles here, 100 miles there. Really got happy with it. Spent about 2 years with it in that current configuration. And then while I was on another deployment, I got to search around the internet looking for something that I could turn my bike into, customize it, right? Because every bike you get,
you got to change.
You got to change it.
you got to make it fit you.
Yeah. Or, you got to make it your own, right? So I got to look around the internet, and it was a company out of Utah at the time. It's called Blue Collar Bobbers. And they sell these little kits where you buy a little Honda VLX or Honda Shadow. They even had some for some Suzuki S40s and then the little Honda Rebel 250s. You can take the small CC displacement cruisers and make them really cool, like single seat, no fender on the front or back. Make it kind of your own. So there I am in the garage with like a hacksaw and my ex-wife's hairdryer, cutting through metal and redoing wires. And that's when I realized that me and wires don't get along. That's a good long story.
Not an electrician.
Oh, no. I'm mechanically capable. I wouldn't call it inclined. But yeah, I got through there, made this little Honda VLX cruiser and a little bobber with a little spring seat in the back, and promptly decided it was time to take a 400-mile journey on a 600cc bike. And it was great going through this tunnel. And I was living in North Carolina at the time, moved over, I was going to Tennessee for some school. And got there, and in the last 120 miles, I only had fourth gear. It only had 4 gears. The clutch went. Well, I thought the clutch went. The cable had backed out because I'd changed the bars up to little, like these broom handle handbars from the typical cruiser bars. And anyway, got to where I was going, killed it in fourth gear. No gas left. Took it the whole 150 miles on that little tank, riding it nice and easy, keeping it the speed limit. And fixed that with some of the guys that were in class with me and back on the road. And this first time I got to ride the Tail of the Dragon was on this little 600cc bike.
Wow.
And to say that road's intimidating, I would say, yeah, it was intimidating. The first time I rode it, it was intimidating. The second time I rode it, it was intimidating. The third time I rode it. It throws a lot at you in a little bit of time. And then you're also watching out for a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Did you go during Sturgis, or was that like off season?
The Tail of the Dragon it's close to Knoxville, Tennessee, and Murraysville, North Carolina. They do have some festivals out there.
Oh, am I getting it completely confused?
Yeah, Sturgis is out in South Dakota.
Well, wait, what's the one in Sturgis that's huge? It's one ride that's like
Sturgis.
No, but like, isn't there one ride that's got a nickname?
They got like Iron Mountain Road that's got some pigtails and stuff like that.
Man, I guess I just always I've seen videos where they talk about Tell the Dragon, and I just apparently just assumed it was at Sturgis.
No, it's actually in Knoxville, Tennessee. Actually, it's in a little town called Merville.
Okay.
Now it looks like Maryville.
Merville.
But you got to say it Merville.
Merville.
Then they know you're local. Smoky Mountain Harley Davidson. They own a whole fleet of dealerships out there. I guess they're part of a larger company. And they have a bunch of like souvenir stands on the way so you can get your different Harley chips, which I collect along the way out there.
Who doesn't if you ride a Harley?
Well, we'll get to that. I had to start off with T-shirts, and those take up a lot of space. It's a lot cheaper for poker chips.
It's a lot cheaper to get the poker chips for sure.
Yeah, it really is. Got back from that school, bought my first Harley. It was a little Sportster 883. The 883 and the 1200, really the big difference is just the engine. They're both fun bikes. They're great bikes. I think they're a great introductory bike to Harley Davidson. Personal opinion on the Sportsters, that should be a secondary bike.
Oh, really?
I think anyone that steps into a Harley really ought to step into a Dyna or a Softail. Just the way they're balanced out, and we can get into the balance of that later. But it just comes down to seat and position, comfortability, the way power is delivered. Yeah, they're heavier bikes, but because the center of balance on those bikes is better than a Sportster. Sportsters are very top-heavy bikes. Had Sportster. From there, moved to Hawaii for 3 years. Right before I moved to Hawaii, I sold the little Honda VLX 600 I had that I put all this time and effort in because, eventually you move on from a bike. You might not ever really want to get away from it, but you move on.
Yeah.
So took the money from that, bought a little, little Suzuki C50, like a Boulevard, little 800cc cruiser, and cruised that around Hawaii for a couple of years. Ex-wife at the time, she was on the 883 Sportster, and then I found a steal of a deal on a Street Glide, and that was my first Harley. So I had two Harleys, but that's my first one, and I rode that thing like nobody's business around Hawaii. It's easier for parking, and then in that location, if you ever get out there, the best thing to do is find a way to do it on two wheels, because I love a life on two wheels. It's not just about brands; it's about being on two wheels and seeing it. Because one of the other riding coaches I've been coaching with lately, he has this saying: "We're cage-free humans." Yeah. Right? You get your free-range chickens, you get your free-range cows, and you get your cage-free humans. Those are us on two wheels. So definitely opens up the aperture and gives you a different, better view on life. I cartwheeled off that Street Glide. Totaled it.
Oh.
Cartwheeled. I mean, I came off it. The bike came over me. I rolled a little bit. The bike continued to roll. Frame got bent.
Oh, that's scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was more scary for my ex-wife because she pulled up behind me.
Oh, man.
And, of course, she's first on scene, and I'm sitting there standing, kicking the bike, mad because I got inattentive, right? Inattention is going to get you on a motorcycle. They say a number one cause of accidents on motorcycles is an interaction of factors. I was inattentive. The road was slick. There was no shoulder. I just went off into the grass, and I went into it too fast. So the interaction of inattention, speed, slick road, that's what got me. So from there, I still had the little Suzuki C50, and we had the Sportster. So I rode those around Hawaii for a little while. And then we moved from Hawaii to Virginia. Well, in that move, I sold the C50, kept the Sportster. And while we were in Virginia, did a little putting around back and forth to work, kind of stayed with it, kept on the bike, just because, I don't know, like wind therapy, right? We all need something to release, let go, just kind of make our life what we want to do to enjoy it and center ourselves.
Right.
Spent about 3 years in Virginia, riding that little 883 around what they call the Seven Cities, Hampton Roads area. So Williamsburg all the way down to Suffolk, Chesapeake area, that whole area. Not a lot of riding, mostly a lot of fiddling with the bike, keeping it running. And then moved to South Korea for a year. Obviously, you can kind of tell like all these moves. I was in the military at the time, so moving.
Was that one, because I know my cousin, when he was Air Force and went to Korea, he had to leave everything behind. It was just him that went. His family didn't come or anything like that. Is that same deal?
Yeah. So I did a year in Gunsan City. I was in the Air Force, so Gunsan Air Base, Osan Air Bases are two big ports. Went to Gunsan City, Gunsan Air Base. Me and one of the master sergeants out there who rode, he ended up getting an R1. He's like, hey, anytime you want to take it out. Oh, yeah, I'll take it out.
Less.
Yeah. So we shared a helmet, went and rode. The real cool thing about Korea is, we get on the roads here in America straight to the interstate, right? Just slab, get where we're going, go ride the fun road. The laws in South Korea are you cannot take a motorcycle, period, on the interstate. So you have to ride side roads.
Interesting.
And it makes it a lot more interesting, especially when you get away from population and the people don't speak English and you're just trying to get fuel because you're not near the base.
Trying to get some directions.
Oh, well, so they have Waze works over there really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we use that as our little mapping feature. And okay, I got to go, 32 kilometers. It's 20 miles. Okay. Make a left. Go 10 kilometers over here. It's 6 miles. Make a right. And get back to where you're going. When I left South Korea, moved to Italy, didn't have any bikes with me at the time. Shortly thereafter, I bought my current bike that I'm still on. It's a 2015 Harley Davidson Dyna FXDB. So it's the Street Bob. It's your basic Dyna from 15, 103 twin cam, fuel injection, all that good stuff, and just proceeded to rip around Europe on it. I mean, Italy, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, France, Luxembourg.
Wow.
If I could do it on
That's
two
the
wheels,
dream.
I did. Oh, it was.
That's
And then where I was living in Italy, it was at the base of the Dolomites. So just like being here in Utah, you got the Wasatch Front right here. You can get up in there. There are roads everywhere, and they're paved, and they take really good care of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, got to have that experience of going through the Dolomites and going through the Austrian Alps and the Bavarian Alps on my bike and going through Switzerland in a snowstorm, which I don't recommend riding in an active snowstorm.
No. I wouldn't do it here.
No.
Wouldn't do it in a foreign country.
No. It was one of those things I had to get home, though.
Right,
So you're making that trip. Got home, got back. I was getting ready for retirement from the military and then bought a BMW GS 650 Ceratal. And that was my introduction to adventure bikes.
Yeah.
And, adventure bikes, sport bike capability with actual off-road capability combined. You could take a little 900cc adventure bike or even a 750 and keep up with a cruiser all day long. It's just gearing and power delivery ratios. I highly recommend anyone's got a motorcycle to get a second motorcycle and make it be an adventure bike.
That's what I want. I've been looking at the Yamaha, what is it? The
Tenere 700.
Tenere 700. That's the one I've been looking at.
If you're going to buy brand new, buy that.
Yeah.
But before you do that, I would recommend you get a Kawasaki KLR 650. They've been making them for like 40 years. It's a little single cylinder, little thumper, indestructible.
Right.
There's been some social media personalities. Fortnite was one of them. He's out of Canada. Anyone that is looking for something to watch on motorcycle stuff, him specifically. He tried to destroy one, broke the frame, still ran and rode it.
I've never ridden a KLR, but I when I first started learning road riding, I was on a DR650 Suzuki.
My understanding, it's a very similar bike.
Yeah.
Power delivery and everything. So they're great bikes, and there's an aftermarket like you wouldn't believe. It's kind of the Jeep of motorcycles.
Right, because it hasn't changed in so long, right?
Yeah, and then, they've got such a following that they've got all these add-ons you can do to it, and you can go pretty much anywhere in the world. And with the KLR, someone's going to be able to work on, especially the old ones with the carburetor or something. So people that make the big, Arctic Ocean to Tierra del Fuego down South America, the, north end tip of North America, south end of South America, they like to use those bikes because they're capable. And they're going to run on pretty bad gas because it's just going to keep thumping away. But yeah, I bought the BMW. Got a steal of it. There was a guy, so we had this law over there that we had to follow. You can only have 3 vehicles at any given time.
Really? In Italy?
Yeah, well, it had to do with what they call the Status of Forces Agreement, which is something the military has to deal with whenever we live overseas. And so we can only have 3 vehicles.
Interesting.
During my course time there, I had 5. not at one time. I had 3 at one time. This officer was looking to get a multi-strada. I think it's made by Aprilia or Ducati, and he had to have it. He had his Ceratal, which is a little single-cylinder Rotax engine, little 650 for sale for $4,000. I was like, hey man, I'm kind of interested, but price is a little high. It wasn't high. It was where it should have been.
Hey, you got to save $1.
Oh yeah. So I was like, I'm interested, but the 3-car rule, this, that, and he was like, all right, man. Well, yeah, let me know. So he come back to me about 2 weeks later. He's like, hey, I found this deal on this. It's a Ducati multi-strada. So you got the sport bike Ducati lineage heritage built into like some off-road capability, and it's a really capable motorcycle. He really had to have it. I was like, man, look, I can't, $4,500, $4,000, I really can't do. I could do 2 right now. I got $2,000 in cash. I can give it to you right now. He's like, $2,000. I don't know. He sits on it for about 3 days, and he comes back and goes, hey, can you do 25? And during the course of moving to Italy, life changes, right? And the ex-wife's no longer with me. I got a girlfriend. I look at her. I'm like, hey, I know I'm getting ready to retire. And, I sold my 2 European cars, and I bought this classic car that I brought back to America with me, and spend $2,500. What do you think? She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, really. So, because when I get back to America, I'd flip this thing for $5,000, no problem. And she goes,
Sure, you're going to sell it.
Sure, you're going to sell it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sell it. If it comes to the point where I need to sell it, I'll sell it. And so I got the bike for $2,500.
Dang.
And proceeded just to ride the snot out of it. Being over in Italy, there was a lot of vineyards over there, wine vineyards. So there's all these like gravel roads, and just kind of got into that bug of just like, hey, look, there's no pavement there. That looks like fun. Right down the road. Got into some really tight situations, running down the road one time about 15 miles an hour. And they had these concrete barriers set up. And then on my right side, my panniers caught it, pushed me over into the left side pannier. And I'm like, bike's still running. I'm still up. Keep cruising. So, that's the adventure bike story. You got it. You're going to ride it. Maybe you got to drop it down a gear or 2 to really make sure your power band's right to keep up with bigger bikes. But when that capability comes up, or you come to that washed out road and you're like, see you guys on the other side. Have fun going 50 miles around on the slab. I'm going to take the 10-mile trip. I'll fill up, and I'll be waiting there with a soda and a sandwich for you when you get there. That was it. So brought the Dyna and the BMW back to America. And within 6 months of moving back to America, I got in a tight spot. And sure enough, I flipped that bike. $5,000.
There you go.
Right.
Worth the investment.
Oh, worth the investment. Needed the money. It was liquidable. So sold it. I'm down to 1 bike now. And I've kept that bike through then. So I'm just sitting on that Dyna right now. And of course, got to make it your own. And in typical Dyna Bro fashion, it's got T-bars, right? You got to have T-bars.
They're all the rage.
Oh, yeah. T-bars and PBRs and T-bar Jesus, save us all, right? Because that's how we ride. Got the Arlen-S Big Sucker 90 degree in it, so I can get a little more airflow into it. Because the reason I have that intake is I was riding back from an event with some buddies, and I just cleaned the bike up and gone through and done a bunch of maintenance, took the intake off, cleaned out the filter, put it back to spec, didn't Loctite it, and I feel this little knock against my right leg. And I'm like, what's that? Pull my leg out, and intake falls off, dumps over the road, bounces out over my buddy. He's like, what was that? I'm like, well, it was my intake. Well, I don't know how I'm going to make it home without having a filter over it, because I don't want the engine getting all dirty and nasty. So we start digging through our dirty clothes. Hey, look, there's a sock. You think it'll fit over the top of it? Not advisable, but in a pinch, a dirty sock will do good for an air filter. So, did that. Had Vance 9 short shots on it whenever I bought it. And I didn't really like the short shots, so I just recently put a Bassani Road Rage 2-in-1 on it, because now we have the complete look, right? With the straight-out crash bars on front and back, little gripple pegs to hold on to or lock passenger knees into, so you don't throw anyone off the back, along with a very small sissy bar to catch their rear end before they slide off the back, because I almost threw the girlfriend off of it one time. We were going up the mountain, and I was like, hey, give her the old double tap. Get up the mountain. Hold on. She's ridden before. She had a license. She was on a Ninja 250, and then she had a Buell XB9. They're fast sport bikes, really fast sport bikes, especially when Buell was working for Harley at the time. really good bikes. A lot of engineering went into them. Gas tank, oil in the swing arm type stuff, really working the center of gravity and balance, making it a truly performance machine. And so I give her a little double tap, and she gets a little knock in the back of the helmet. I'm like, all right.
Here we go.
And I gun it, and she about slides off the back. And I was like, well, you weren't paying attention. Somehow her and I are still together, though.
I literally had a buddy send me a video of a gal sliding right off the back of, and it didn't even look like they were moving that fast. And I was like, well, that's not happening on my bike, because when my wife's on, the tour pack's on. So you're not slipping off the back of that.
Yeah, that tour pack saves a lot of people, especially when they fall asleep in the back, which you wouldn't think people could do on the back of a bike, but
you'd be surprised. You got the couch on the back. You got to take a nap.
Yeah, road sofa, right? So, got the Dyna, working that. Kind of backtrack. One of the other bikes I had in my my garage at one point in Hawaii was a Ducati 796 Monster. So I had a friend. She had to go for some medical stuff from Hawaii back to States. And she's like, hey, I know you ride. I've seen you ride. You ride safer than most. I'm like, okay, cool. Will you watch my bike? Well, yeah, certainly will. Yeah, Ducati 796 in my garage. I can go ride and keep going. About the fourth, fifth time I was on it, I was coming off a little clover leaf. I was in second gear and gunned it. And popped it into third, and that front wheel came off, and I was like, okay, that's the end of that thing. So that was the end of the 796 in the garage. It stayed, rode it around the neighborhood, keep it running, because, engines, tires, you don't want flat spots.
Right.
So got to keep it rolling. That's pretty much every bike I've been on that has been in my garage. I've been on tons of other bikes that just... Motorcycling to me, it doesn't matter your style. It doesn't matter your brand. I'm kind of agnostic, even though I coach for Motorcycle Safety Foundation now, and I coach for the Harley Davidson Riding Academy at one of the local dealerships here in Utah. I want to see people on motorcycles.
Yeah.
I think it creates a better driver. And also just think back to that cage-free life, right? Getting out of it. So motorcycles are way about it. You get around it. This weekend I was on a Honda VTX. It was nice. A couple weeks ago I did about a 3,000-mile journey on a Triumph Tiger 900, and that's where I go with that adventure bike. Mm-hmm. It can keep up with the Indian Pursuits and the Challengers and the Ultra Classics and the Road Glides, no problem. As a matter of fact, it passes them when you get to. And they're just kind of like, where'd that little 900 come from?
Yeah, the way they're keyed up is just...
Oh, yeah.
They're fast.
They're amazing. They're fun. 8 through a tire on that one. Make sure you get the right tire mixture on that one, because with your adventure bikes, you get really into that, kind of like how much gravel, how much road do you need. And a buddy was running like an 80% off-road, 20% road, and 3,000 miles, that back tire was gone. Mm-hmm. Just gone. It created a good story, and get that tire back to him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying out one of those Tigers, because I have two friends, they're brothers, and I think they were both Air Force, and they did a tour from one brother's place up in, can't remember if he's Washington or Oregon, but the one from Florida flew up there. Both got on their bikes, and they rode down all the way through Utah into Arizona, I believe, and then all the way over to Florida, and then the other one flew home. I'm
getting goosebumps just hearing that story, because there's so much that could go on that between U.S. roads, interstate, and then the back dirt roads.
Right.
We've got an amazing system here in America. Just, if you have an adventure bike, you can go and get on those roads and just get off when you need gas, take a little 5-gallon jerry can with you. Mm-hmm. You can go 500 miles on the back roads with that and just camp off of it if you want to.
Exactly.
A lot of people overland with their vehicles, but overlanding on a motorcycle, camping in nature, taking it all with you, knowing exactly what you need. I wouldn't say it's the ultimate test, but it definitely gives you an opportunity to get to know yourself, your machine, and appreciate what we have here in America. And, I've ridden everywhere that I've been stationed. Hawaii is amazing. Europe was amazing. South Korea was definitely an experience. We don't take stock of what we have here in America and really appreciate it until we can get away from the cities. Don't get me wrong. I like the cities. They got a lot of stuff going on, but getting out and seeing what's out there is amazing. And those adventure bikes are one way to do it. So, that's my license in, where I've lived, the bikes that have been in my garage, bikes I've been on. During that whole time, though, I kind of wanted to do more. I was getting to this point in my career in the Air Force where I was looking for a way to give back, and I had found a way through a job I had. You don't necessarily get to always take care of the junior enlisted and the airmen by being a first sergeant, but you get an opportunity to really kind of shape and mold the military in the way that is going to affect it long term. Kind of identifying the bad actors, maybe correcting them and getting them on that course back to like, hey, this is why we joined. You know, we have responsibilities we need to do. And then for those that just can't get it, like, hey, thanks for your service. No one can ever tell you weren't a veteran. Go ahead and go back and be a civilian. You're going to do much better there. Even for the guys that are hard workers that just can't seem to follow the rules. Like, you know, they're going to do good things for where they are in America in general, just by going back and taking some of that work ethic they had. So while I was in Italy, opportunity came up to become a Motorcycle Safety Foundation rider coach. And I was like, okay. In America, that could cost you up to $2,500. And
Just to start?
Just to start. That's to get your equipment. That's to go get, you know, talk to very sternly and professionally for 7 days about this is how we talk to people and this, you just do X, Y, Z and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, well, I had an opportunity to do it for free.
Dang.
So I took on it.
Was this through the Air Force?
It was through the Air Force. Every military branch has a motorcycle safety program. Not every base has a rider training program where they can take you from knowing how to ride a bicycle to operating a motorcycle in a parking lot. In second gear in a parking lot, you'll be good. So it took 7 days. Man, it was in October in Italy, and the weather was just great. Got a little warm out on the tarmac because we kind of had to do it on the backside of the runway where we had enough room, but made it through, surprisingly. The rider coach trainer, so you have your rider coaches, which are your folks that teach people who don't know how to ride a motorcycle to ride. You have a rider coach trainer. That's the person that teaches people who know how to ride a motorcycle become rider coaches. And like day one, he's just shaking his head. Day two, he's shaking his head. Day three, he's shaking his head. Day four, just the whole time. And then we go through to do the skill evals, and when it all came down to it, he goes, the best improvement out of the class. So I was like, I'll take that as a win. So in Italy, taught Basic Rider Course Update 1, and then got certified to teach Basic Rider Course Update 2. The difference being Basic Rider Course Update 1, 2-day course. We teach you how to use your clutch, how to duck walk, how to get your feet on the footrest, how to accelerate, get into second gear, and then stop going from second to first. So now you have the mechanics of shifting, right? We teach you how to stop in a curve properly, safely. Then we work on, turns from a stop. And then we show them a stopping demonstration. Like this is how long it takes a motorcycle to stop at 15 feet or at 15 miles an hour. This is how long it takes to stop at 15 miles an hour with a 1 second delay. Because your typical stopping distance per the MSF foundations or the MSF training stuff is 0.72 to 1.15 seconds for someone to stop. You need to be surprised how far you travel in that time frame.
Oh, yeah.
I always tell people it's about the width or length of an ambulance because you'll be riding in the back of one if you're not paying attention, right? And it's a little dark humor, but I'm just like...
That's exactly how it is. I mean, you got to know what you're getting yourself into when you're riding.
Yeah, it's hammering it down, right? And all those skills at that point, that's into day one. Day two, we go into tight space maneuvers. So the U-turn, everyone's like, oh my God, the U-turn. It's actually pretty simple. If you listen to what the coach is saying. Go to the U-turn. Then we do, it's a stopping in a curve exercise. We put people on a circuit, a little straight line circuit with some various radii turns where you're just kind of learning to lean the bike a little bit in second gear and learn how to use the accelerator, speed up, and then letting off the accelerator, not necessarily using your brakes, but maybe using your brakes to adjust your speed before you go into the turn again and then go through the radius. And we teach people using the circuit again, how to merge in and out of traffic, how to go from a stop, first gear, getting on straightaway, getting up in the second gear, adjusting your speed to make the turn, going through the radius, making a lane change, and then getting back off and seeing if you can get back into traffic by using your head checks, stuff like that. After that, we take them into how to properly cross obstacles. We use a 2x4, usually 6 to 8 foot piece of 2x4. Rev it up a little bit, get that front end lightened up, get a little bit up off the motorcycle, get that front end light, let off that throttle immediately, let the back end go over it. And the reason why you want to let off throttle so you don't kick out whatever's underneath your back tire out from underneath you. Go back to another exercise within 13, learning how to, learning to swerve. So, utilizing your hips and your hands and your head to swerve and then stop around an obstacle. Get into 14 where we do a skills practice. You do a swerve and a quick stop along with tight spaced maneuvers again, and then you get into the skill eval. That's really what the MSF stuff is nowadays. It's those 14 exercises. Whenever I got my certification through the military to do that, we used to have 3 to 5 hours worth of in-course work. So, you're sitting in there going over slides, giving people scenario, creating awareness of how motorcycles work, making sure people understand what their peripheral vision is, like doing things with cards or your thumb, making sure people understand what road signs are, giving them little tips and tricks and how to kind of spot danger, and then realize that you don't always have just one escape path. You need to have multiple.
Great.
By having, left, right, center escape path, you're going to be better. I always tell everyone your best escape path, slow it down.
Yeah.
Create a cushion between you and the vehicle in front of you.
That's what I talk to a lot of people, especially non-riders. I'll see videos of people that are getting in these wrecks, and they're like, you see this stuff, and then these friends that don't ride ask, that's the risk. Why do you ride this, that, and the other? And I'm like, look, a lot of those riders are getting in accidents because of their speed.
Oh, yeah.
They're hitting the corner too fast. They're following too closely. They're breaking the speed law, the speed law, and you're giving yourself less time to react.
Oh, yeah. Your total braking, stopping, reaction time is 4 seconds. If you're 2 seconds away from the person in front of you, traveling within the speed limit, by the time you realize the threat and react to the threat, it's 4 seconds.
It's already too late.
Yeah. But if you're given a 2 second cushion, you're going to have enough time to stop safely. I encourage people to use a 3 second cushion. I try to use as much as possible.
Yeah.
It just gives me that little bit extra time. And if the person in front of you or beside you really needs to get around you, just let them go. The best thing about being on motorcycles is just all the sensation from everything around you, whether it's the wind, the noise, even the rain. Even though I've got this belief that it's raining, I'm not going to leave my house. But if it's raining while I'm out, I got to get home.
It's too late.
Yeah. Hopefully you got all your gear with you. So the skill eval, things we've already worked on, how to weave, how to make a turn from a stop, how to do a tight space turn, quick stop, swerve with a stop, and then a simple acceleration test. And as long as you can do those things, you're pretty much going to pass. It's not hard. And so in Italy, people had to bring their own motorcycles. Well, the silly thing was you couldn't have a motorcycle unless you had a motorcycle endorsement. So how are people that are going to be going through this class with no motorcycle endorsement have a motorcycle?
That's the law over in Italy.
That's the status of forces agreement that we go back to. So this is how the Americans have motorcycles here. Well, I had my endorsement, I had my bike, everything else. But before I could get validated to actually have a motorcycle endorsement, I had to go take a BRC 2. So it's a 1-day course. Went and took that on the bike the bike I bought there. And it was like, let's bond with this bike today. Don't know anything about it, but accelerator's always here, brakes are right here, clutch is over here. And all motorcycles built since 1972 are set up the same way, unless they've been modified specifically by the owner for a suicide clutch or jockey shift or whatever you want to call it, or they've done integrated brakes for it. Horns up here, turn signals where they are, Harley's self.
Yeah, that one took me a second. I was used to having the left-handed both sides. So I was like, nope, it's over here.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's always your arm signals, too, You can use those if you can remember them. So, how do we get around that? Well, everybody's got a buddy's got a bike. Some people have 2 bikes and a car over in Italy. All those people that had two bikes, usually had a smaller bike, and they'd rent it out $50 a day or, $200 for the class, because you're expecting people to drop the motorcycle while they're in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these dudes are coming through with these, brand new Harley they just bought from Harley Davidson through the military sales program. And they're going to get their license here, and it's going to go, and you're just like, great, here's a bike with 3 miles on it. The clutch isn't even worn in good. And, they're sitting there massaging their hand at the end of exercise too. And like, man, the clutch is hard. I'm like, yeah.
So they'll ship Harley Davidsons to you in the military?
So when you go overseas, if you have a vehicle allotment, you can ship a car or a motorcycle. Most people, what they do is they put their motorcycle in their household goods. Because as long as you don't go over weight in your household goods and it's not actually a car, they will put it in your household goods and get it to you. So that's how I got the 2 bikes back, is they put it in my household goods. And I wasn't overweight, surprisingly. And I shipped a car back. So, yeah, there's all these little weird things that they don't teach you when you first join, because it's just not pertinent. And then as you grow in your career, you find out about things, and you end up doing things that way. And I mean, the Sportster got to Hawaii in my household goods. It got to Virginia in my household goods. The Dyna and the BMW GS got back in my household goods. So it was all free shipping, and it was great because U.S. spec, and you get used to riding it. So yeah, people have 2 or 3 bikes. You got Honda Groms, you got these CBR 600s, you got Sportster 1200s, you got guys buying brand new Softails. You've got metric bikes that people bought off the economy in Italy and then got them into the American Services license plating system in Italy, that they're legal to be on base, and they're renting them out. And like, as a rider coach, the first day on the range, you're doing T-clocks with everyone. I don't know. Probably know what they are, but if not, it's your tires, cables and controls, lights, oils and other fluids, your chassis and your suspension. That's what your C is, your second C, and then S is your side stand. You're making sure and going through with everything with someone who doesn't know anything about bikes and saying, okay, well, this works, and here's why. This is what you need to look for. You need to check everything over, because really you should be doing T-clocks every time you get on your bike. That's an MSF thing. That's a Harley Davidson Riding Academy thing. Every time you get on your bike, you want to check it out. Do I do it? No. No, I don't. I know, like once a week.
I check. Yeah, I check the important things every so often.
Tires got tread, brake pads got thickness to them. All the fluids are full, and lights work.
Still need new tires.
Yeah, mine currently doesn't have a horn on it because, I have this thing about breaking horns on that Dyna. The second one's broke off when I got here. Really? They're just mounted in a weird spot, and then
are they down on the lower left?
No, it's so the frame in a Dyna is kind of at a V up at the front, like most of them, and then it just hangs down in the middle.
Oh, okay,
so
yes,
it catches rocks.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because I've seen the new 24 models, the Road Glide and Street Glide. It's like right down by your left foot. It's
I'd kick that thing.
Yeah, it's not like with the twin cams where there's a cover over in the middle, like it's up by the engine and there's a cover there. It's literally like fully exposed.
I really haven't looked at the 24s yet to see how they're set up, but I'd break that thing.
Well, I just think it'd be hit by rocks and all sorts of things, or
as what happened.
It's not. I don't know. That's like one of my complaints about that. It's really small, but I think it looks silly down there.
I'm sure an engineer thought it was a good spot.
It's like, it's out of the way.
Yeah, it's out of the way.
But it has no cover or anything to make it look not like a horn. It's just a seashell horn.
Hey, aftermarket. Nice little cover. Put it over top of it. You're good to go. So you make it your own.
Somebody will make some money off that design flaw.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's tons of stuff off one of the websites now that sells aftermarket stuff that'll help you out there. So the horn, I lost a horn in between Clovis, New Mexico, and Van Horn, Texas. Just went to go hit the horn one time.
So nothing
there. Fortunately, it fell down into the frame and set between the voltage regulator and the engine the whole way home, and I had the horn. So I got a new horn put on, and I guess a rock hit one here and just bent it, and the metal wasn't very strong. Broke right off. I still got it. It's sitting on the bar top at the house, just waiting to get back on. So we'll see when that gets.
It was pretty pricey.
It's about $100. Everything on a Harley's about $100.
Yeah.
And that's with install though.
$100.
Oh yeah.
HD.
The old HD shop. But it's not that big deal. I just need to drill a hole, put a bolt on it, get back on there, hook it back up. and it'll be good to go. But yeah, so, that's the other thing. When we were in Italy, not only were we teaching people on their own bikes, we're teaching people with our own bikes. So that's where the GS came into play. Had some tall guys come through. They're on these little bitty bikes. I'm like, well, you can use my coaching bike over here. If you drop it, not that big of a deal. Because the good thing about Metro bikes, most of the time they got like a crash cage on it because they expect you to drop it. Because you just get in situations. So, yeah, I spent a good year teaching people how to ride with their own bikes. And that was really, frustrating is not the right, it was very interesting because not only are people getting used to learn how to ride a motorcycle, they're getting used to being on their bike. So they're really bonding with it. And it's good. Well, the military has requirements for refresher training every 3 to 5 years, depending on what your branch of service is. Your typical conventional forces every 5 years. There are some specialized units out there that require it every 3 years. To get an update, you take what's called BRC U2, so the Basic Rider Course Update 2. Takes out a lot of the clutch control. They expect you already know how to do a lot of the simple duck walk things and turning around. Just put you right into it. The first thing you do, it's actually a skill eval. Coaches show you how to do it. You go out there, you're doing weaves, you're doing slow ride control, just to see if you can do it. And if you can do it, you can progress through. We go through a lot of the turns from a stop, the swerve, the quick reaction. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
The quick stops, stuff like that. And we put them back on the circuit, make sure they know how to, run over things again, make sure they understand how to swerve, all those things, put them through skill eval if they need it for licensing, because you can actually do the Basic Rider Course Update 2 as a licensing course. So it's just a one-day course. But it also suffices for refresher training, just kind of bonding with your bike and maybe reevaluating some habits that you have developed through riding. So I was like, all right, well, I need to learn to do that because everyone needs it. Refresher training while we're there because you had to have it every 5 years. And if you went out of scope within that 5 years, you had to go take it. It's a free course that Motorcycle Safety Foundation offers. Anyone who's a rider coach can take that one for free. After you pass the test, which is all written in through the book, you can buy the cards and you can coach it. No problem. So got all that done. I was happy. First year coaching, probably pushed through about 20 classes between BRC 1 and BRC 2. And then moved to Texas for a year. And Texas is interesting because not only do you have to be MSF certified, you have to be licensed in the state of Texas to be a rider coach, motorcycle rider coach. That's because whenever you're proctoring the course, you're proctoring a written test at the time and a riding test. As long as people pass that, they can go get their license on whatever CC motorcycle they want.
Right.
They could go out and buy the H2. I had a couple guys do that. I already bought an H2. I need a license. And this is your first bike. Congratulations. I don't recommend it.
Please be safe. Please.
I don't recommend you do that. I'm not going to be able to teach you how to ride that thing properly, but I'll teach you how to get around in a parking lot. So just, working through BRC 1 in Texas and BRC 2 was interesting because now you're working for a school, an actual motorcycle safety school.
Whereas before when you were in Italy, you taught them how to ride, and then they would go then afterwards and do everything else that was necessary to get licensed.
So they could take their completion card, depending on what state they're in, along with their scores, depending on what state they're in, go to their local DMV and say, I'm ready for my endorsement. And DMV give them my test or do whatever else they needed to do. And there's your M endorsement. Thanks for the money. Now you can legally go ride. So, that's getting people licensed, right? Texas, the schools have to provide the bikes. They want the bikes 500cc or less. So first thing I get in Texas, the first time I go to coach in, say, Texas, I am coaching by myself on what they call a compact range. There's a bunch of different ranges you can have, modified, full sizes, and the other. So used to coaching on full-size range. So that's where you have 2 coaches, 12 riders, eyes on the course at all time, right? You're walking backwards, making sure everything's good and safe to go. Texas. Here we go. We shrunk the course by about 40%. We've taken away 4 riders and 8 to 1. So there's 1 coach for 8 riders. And this is how the schools in Texas make their money. pump through riders, doing your courses, make sure they're good. They got them all like these little Kawasaki Eliminator 125s. The Eliminator is the most unfortunate name anyone ever put on a motorcycle. Why would you name something
Bad juju.
Eliminator? Yeah, 2 wheels on top of something that explodes, sits, flammable fluid on top of it, and someone doesn't know how to ride. Let's call it an Eliminator.
Oh, buddy.
So working with that first company.
Is that this one right here, right?
Yeah, the Kawasaki 125 Eliminator. It's a great little carbureted bike. It takes a while to warm up, really finicky. They don't make them anymore, unfortunately. But I heard rumors that they were going to make an Eliminator 300, which I'd love to see them bring that bike back because it's a fun bike. You can ride it to your limits, which will not exceed the bike's limits, and still stay within the speed limit, even on the interstate. I wouldn't recommend it on the interstate, but you could do it. You could do it doing 55. It's it's great for putting around town, really, honestly. They had the Eliminators, and then they had the Kawasaki Z Pro 125. Z Pro is basically it's a Honda Grom clone, but it's made by Kawasaki. I don't know if I put a link to it up on there. There it is.
Right here.
Yeah, that one. Great little bike. Fuel injected, so you don't have to worry about warming up.
Oh, yes. I've seen these.
They're great. They're great little bikes. Love teaching on them. Really kind of felt like the bear at the circus riding those things. But they're great.
That's a good look.
It's a great look. It's great, especially if he's leaning on it. And neither one of these bikes have ABS. So.
Put the fez on.
Oh, yeah. I got a buddy who rides around with the Foxtail on the rear seat of his bike.
Oh, no.
And so because he's single, so whenever girls get on the bike and they got something that's a little short, kind of covers up their backside a little bit.
There you go.
Because the Foxtail's flapping in the wind. Oh, Flash is a great dude. He's down in San Antonio. So, yeah, working with the Z Pro 125s, they were great. We also had a Honda Rebel 250 down there. Didn't really care for it too much just because it took so long to warm up.
Carbureted,
yeah, older bikes because they don't make the 250 anymore. I don't want to say what cylinder it was, but it came in at 250. It was a cruiser style. That bike really needed a lot of love and care, and really took the rider the full course to pass the test with it. They had to ride it the whole time because the clutch was a little wonky on it, and this, that, and the other. And then we also had the opportunity for people to come through and take the scooter course. The scooter course is the exact same course as the BRC one. You're just doing on a scooter, so you don't have to worry about shifting. It's just throttle and go.
Gotcha.
Right.
All automatic transmission.
Oh, yeah. Great bikes. There's a lot of actual new bikes that are going that way, like the Honda Africa Twin.
Yeah, and then the Rebel 1100 has the same exact engine.
Mm-hmm. And then you're seeing some of the KTMs come through with that now. They put a patent out to do an automatic, but they're doing quick shift where you don't have to engage the clutch.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's a cool feature, but I want my clutch.
I think that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, I've never met somebody that's like, I want an automatic. But I don't know. Are there upsides to it that I'm just not seeing other than distraction?
One less thing to distract you. One less thing to look at and take care of, I think. You see them on some of the scooters. I think Honda made what they called the Silver Wing, which was like a 600cc moped set up for touring.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, yeah. It's a big, powerful scooter, man. It'll do.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're cool, man. Like, I just think all motorcycles are cool, but when you put a 600cc touring scooter out there and dudes are whipping by some of the learner bikes, the 300s, and you're just going, what in the world was that? Oh, that's a scooter set up for comfort for guys who aren't ready for that 3-wheel but don't want to have to deal with shift anymore, right?
Getting their leg over the center.
Yeah, you can just kind of step through that one. Just taught with that also, so had some scooter experience teaching in Texas, getting people through. And about that time, I was trying to become a high school teacher. And I was living in San Antonio. I was driving to Austin. And on the way to Austin, I would go by 2 Harley Davidson dealerships. I'm like, man, my understanding at the time was that they taught something very similar to the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course. So I was like, well, if I'm already certified, like how hard could it be to be a Harley coach? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer is it's a little difficult to get in. And they teach very similar stuff. They use a lot of the same principles, a lot of the same techniques, a lot of the same material. and couldn't get in with one dealership. So I started talking to another dealership that was in San Antonio because we had like 3 in the local area.
Yeah, there's, there's
Caliente, which I live next to.
And then
Teddy Morris.
Man, I've been to all of them over there. Cowboy, yeah.
Teddy Morris, Cowboy Harley Davidson of Alamo City. And the reason why I know that one so well is because that's actually who I got my Harley Davidson riding academy coaching through. Oscar Bubba Gonzalez. I just kind of came in and was like, hey, dude, I'm already licensed in the state of Texas, I'm an SF coach. I want to be a Harley coach. And I'm retired from the military, so I got nothing but time on my hands. And I really want to do this. So for about 2 months, me and him and hauled back and forth. He finally got me in a course. He sent me up to Smoky Mountain Harley Davidson in Merville, Tennessee, up near Teledragon for a 4-day course. The course was run from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So after the course, we go home and crash. Well, what are we doing during the middle of the day? We're riding Tennessee. We're riding that area right there. So, Teledragon, Blue Ridge Parkway, Chair Hall Skyway, Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, roads up and through there, just everywhere we could be. Mm-hmm. Didn't ride up there, didn't drive up there, flew up there. Used a program called Rider Share, which I've actually used here in Utah too.
Is that like an app where you can rent people's motorcycles?
It's like Toro for motorcycles. And if you ever use Toro, they've got it here. A couple guys renting out Pan America's. Story about that one in a minute. So rented a bike through them, had this like 2005 Road King that stage 4. Whoa. So, 88, not twin cam, not fuel injected. Thing was supposed to be like bad. And I'm just like, well, I bought the insurance, so let's see what I can do with this. So we're up there, and my goal while I had it was try to wear a hole through the stretch bags. I don't like stretch bags. Aesthetically, they're not nice. To me.
The Harley ones aren't the worst. My issue is like the aftermarket ones where they're like touching the ground when you're not even moving. Those ones I think are just horrendous.
Yeah.
Or like where they take your rear fender and extend it too, and it's just like the mullet going off the back.
And it seems like it affects the performance, the lean angle, how quickly,
Yeah.
But some people like it. And hey, man, as long as you're on 2 wheels, I'm happy about that.
Right.
I'd prefer you actually ride your motorcycle to the event. Call myself out. I haven't always done that. But, I prefer you ride the motorcycle event and then ride it while you're there, because that's part of the joy of being at the event is riding the motorcycle. But yeah, just trying to drag holes through those bags. Well, it didn't even add functionality. There wasn't even any extra storage in it. Like I couldn't throw a pencil at the bottom. It was all looks. So I got some good pictures posted up on my Facebook of me. You can see I'm just leaned over as far as I can go. I got my head turned, counter steering, probably going through a turn over the speed limit or the recommended speed limit. Just having a good old time out there with a bunch of other guys that were going through the Harley Davidson Riding Academy coaching course. And really, what I learned and began to appreciate out of that course is Harley Davidson, they're not trying to create riders. They're trying to create people, or they're trying to get people in the lifestyles of motorcycling. Mm-hmm. They want you to feel like you're part of something, a community, a broader community of people who we don't always have to agree on politics. We don't have to agree on styles of motorcycles, obviously. Mm-hmm. But we want you out there riding. We want you out there being seen. And we want you enjoying life on whatever way you want. And so, I think that's where Pan America's coming in with that Rev Max engine. I think Harley Davidson's kind of hitting the market right, and I'm hoping it works out for them.
Yeah.
Went through that course, came back, taught for Harley Davidson, taught for that first school, and then I got on with the second school because it was all contract labor out there. So I was a 1099 independent contractor, just paying paycheck, figure out your taxes. That third school, I was working for all 3 of them at the same time. They all knew it. So I'm working my schedule off what they have available, working morning classes, because in San Antonio in the summer, we'd start class at 7 a.m.
You'd have to.
So we're done by noon. And then they do a class from 1 to 6. And you're noticing those time frames about 5 hours. Mm-hmm. The BRC-1 is designed for 10 hours, 11 hours in total on the range, and then for some classroom stuff. And you can learn everything you need to learn to get around in a parking lot in 11 hours. And that's what we get you to. We get you where you can balance it and you can shift and all those things. And the course was the same. With Harley Davidson, we were using solely the Harley Davidson Street 500, which when Harley came out with that, I think it was marketed towards getting people into the Harley Davidson lifestyle or motorcycle lifestyle entry point. It's actually a really good bike when maintained.
What engine is it running? It's not. It's its own thing, right?
Liquid cooled 500, and I think the power plant was similar to the Street 750. I really wish they hadn't gone away from the Street 750 and the 500 because I think they're great learner bikes. Good low center of gravity, good seat height, so people can sit on it and get their feet on the ground. Even people, 4'10" can sit on that bike and do it.
Low inseam.
Yeah, and you can get a reduced reach seat. Harley Davidson doesn't advertise this, but it runs the same shocks as the Sportster 883 and 1200. So those little 10-inch slammer shocks you can put on the 883, you can put them on the Street 500, and you could get someone shorter than 4'10" on that bike and get a little reduced reach seat, push them forward just a little bit, and they can ride just like everyone else. They can grow that confidence to get in a taller bike. I don't want to say a bigger bike, but a taller bike, something a little more inseam there. They got to maybe get the seat specifically cut for them, get it shaved down so they can actually sit on it comfortably. Using those, moved on to another school, balancing schedules. That school had a KTM Duke 300, a CBR 300, some XT250s, so Yamahas, dirt bike type thing. They had some Rebel 300s, the new Honda Rebel 300. Great bike. I prefer the fuel-injected bikes for teaching just because you don't have to let them warm up. And when you go to start them, you just hit the button and it goes as long as they're maintained.
Right.
And just working with people on those and some TWs. I think maybe that's Suzuki.
Suzuki TW?
I think maybe it's Kawasaki TW.
I thought the Yamaha was the TW.
Maybe it's
the
Yamaha.
TW200. It's like a dirt bike-ish.
Big fat
street
tire.
bike. Yeah,
that thing. It was great. I liked really working that one because they were very hard to stall. So I didn't have to worry about people stalling motorcycles and getting flustered trying to start it again. It created a good environment. And then through the course of that, I was also balancing in once a quarter, going over to the Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland specifically, and coaching active duty airmen, keep their currency going, using the bikes they had there to get people licensed because we could actually use that to get people licensed in the state of Texas while we're there. So you have people come over from Laughlin Air Base or they come down from the Army Post because we have more courses than they did.
Right.
And that was the first time working with them that I had a chance to take what they call the Advanced Riders course. Basically, I have 3 levels of Motorcycle Safety Foundation Basic Rider, BRC 1, U1, U2, and the Advanced Riders course. And that one's really fun. They teach you to weave in a circle, and they're teaching you all sorts of different things that just really enhance the overall experience of safety. Like they have one exercise where you come up to a swerve, but you're in traffic, right? You're in traffic, and you stop, put a foot down, check left, right, find your open path, and then clutch and move, get around it so that you don't get rear-ended. It really kind of resets that mindset that, oh, yeah, when we stop in traffic, especially in states where you can't filter, like Utah, thank God for filtering.
Yeah,
that is a lifesaver, especially in this heat.
I feel like I'm so wide with my Electroglide that I just kind of hug inside so that if somebody were to rear end the person in front of me, I wouldn't be like in it. But I'm definitely not the guy that likes to get way up in the front.
Oh, I move straight to front.
I'm like, I don't want to accidentally hit somebody's windshield or some crazy person's like, oh, screw this guy, opens the door on me.
If they did that.
I'm sure they'd pay the consequence, but still, I'm like, I'll just scoot over to the side here.
I got some buddies that ride big touring bikes like that. Like, oh, we can't do it. I'm like,
I know it's doable. I just choose not to.
Yeah, I do it. I do it on the Dyna. And I've got, crash bars sticking out. I'm just go right through. But yeah, the exercises in the Advanced Riders course, which if you are military, Guard, Reserve, you are near a military base, they have a rider safety program, motorcycle safety program. All those courses should be free to you. If they are not free, your motorcycle safety representative in your unit should understand the program enough that if you go and pay for a course, the military will reimburse you for that course.
Yeah. I think currently my unit doesn't have one, and I'm trying to become that guy.
Well, it's fun. It's a lot of paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up to the nearest military base where we're at here, and they've got classes. I think they run like 2 a month for BRCU too, and just get you a little more comfortable with your bike. You bring your own bike. That's the one thing I like about the BRCU too, and the ARC is you have to bring your own bike. You have to do T-clocks. The coach is going to check it with you, but you have to bring your own bike. So you have to be comfortable on your bike, and you're doing those exercises on your bike. So you're really bonding with the bike. Those were all great. And then while I was in Texas, I just got this bug because I had the ADV, the adventure bike. Man, I was so excited about that bike. Motorcycle Safety Foundation came out with a course for adventure bikes.
Really?
Yeah. They teach you the basics of riding an adventure bike, first or second gear, almost all. I would say the majority of exercises by the Motorcycle Safety Foundation and within the Harley Davidson Riding Academy, second gear, max. You really don't need third gear on those courses, especially on some of the bigger bikes.
Right.
They teach you how to ride. They teach you how to steer with your hips and your knees and your feet because you need a little bit more of that with the ADVs because you can really tip them over a little bit more. They teach you to ride standing up, shift, stop, weight displacement. While I was going through the rider coach course, the guys who put it on, they're a company called Be Crash Free. I think they're based out of Idaho, or at least that's where the ADV course was taught for the rider coaches. They challenged me that I could stand on the motorcycle and it not be moving, stand on the footrest for 10 seconds and the bike wouldn't fall over. And they teach you the tricks. They really do. I got to about 8 seconds.
I don't think I could do that with my Harley. That's for sure.
No. I haven't seen them do it with the Harley street models yet.
Is balance like mechanically the way those adventure bikes are built more? Like, do they take that into account? Like, are they very well balanced left to right, or?
I think they're really good, left, right, center. But whenever you stand up on an adventure bike, you then shift all the weight to your feet and the footrest, and it pushes the weight down. So therefore, you get a lower center of gravity when you're standing on it. And that's why you see a lot of adventure bike riders standing while they're riding, especially in lower speeds. I mean, heck, if I'm on the street, I'm on an ADV, and I'm in second gear, I'm probably standing.
Yeah, I think I would have to stand just because, like, my lower back probably couldn't take the trails as much.
You'd really be surprised the way they design the suspension in those, especially the newer ones with the electronic assist. It accounts for it really, really well. Really well.
Yeah, the Pan America has the adaptive ride height and everything. How's that?
Scary good. Scary good.
Because were you saying earlier that you've had the chance to ride some with rideshare?
Yeah, with rideshare, I got to use I rented a Pan America 1250 from a gentleman. Disclaimer, I paid for the insurance and I broke his cruise control because it has cruise control. It's a little snob plastic thing. It cost me $140 to fix it with the part and labor. So I felt bad, but it still works. So yeah, he's good.
Insurance is a thing for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're just great, capable bikes. So took that course, came back. Harley Davidson is doing an off-road course, I believe, Intermountain Harley Davidson. So Saddleback, Golden Spike, Salt Lake City, and I think one other dealership.
Southtown, I think, is also part of them.
Southtown?
Is that what it's called? Southtown Harley Davidson, something like that.
Well, I know one of the rider coaches.
That's the one I go to the least. It's just not on the way where I usually am. So
I know one of the coaches of the name's Matt Wallace. They actually have a secure spot to teach the ADV course through Harley Davidson. It's up in Park City. There's a motocross track up there. I guess they got some stuff worked out with them.
That's cool.
So if you have an ADV bike, especially Pan America, they're going to ask you, hey, you want to come up here and learn? I would highly recommend you go do it. On top of getting the ADV cert, I researched and figured out how to become a trike coach. So I can actually teach people to ride three-wheel.
I wouldn't have even thought that was like a special, a separate certification. Is that a different type of license?
It'll
Utah?
be a restriction. In Utah, it's going to be a restriction. In Texas, it's going to be a restriction. It's just like me and you wearing glasses.
Right.
If that restriction is on your license and you're only certified for three-wheel motorcycle, you can only ride a three-wheel motorcycle. And it doesn't matter whether it's the Can-Am Spider thing or the Tri-Glide, the Freewheeler, or the RG3. You can only ride those. You can't ride.
So can you have both an endorsement and that restriction, or if you have the restriction, it keeps you from having that endorsement?
If you have a motorcycle endorsement, you can ride any motorcycle.
Including trikes?
Including the trike.
Oh, okay.
If you have the motorcycle endorsement with the trike restriction, you can only ride the trike.
Interesting.
So, I mean, it's a way to do it because when you're doing the trike course, you're not working on balance.
Right.
You're working on figuring out where the clutch is, remembering to unset that parking brake, how to do tight turns with it while staying on the bike, learning what happens at 20 miles an hour in a turn. Back tire might come off the ground on a Harley. Mm-hmm. It's not going to a Can-Am, but, because there's only one back there where the Harley's got two in the back.
Is that something that can be like medically mandated on you to have a tricycle restriction?
That's a good question. I think if you're not giving up, I think motorcycling, I think they could probably do it. I think they could.
I just remember when my grandpa was getting old and they put a restriction that he could only drive in the city he lived, like in Lewiston, because he's starting to have some pretty bad dementia and they're like, hey, he passed his he had to take like a refresher driving class or like a test, and he passed, and they're like, hey, but you're only allowed to, because Lewiston's like middle of nowhere town, so I don't know how those kind of restrictions work.
Good question.
Or maybe I was just a kid and they told me that, and they told him that, and he just believed it because he had dementia. I don't know.
Hey, but if that's what kept him safe, then good. Because, on top of being an advocate for motorcycling, I'm an advocate for long life riding, not lifelong riding. Because you're only going to ride as long as you're alive. But if you have a long life, you're riding for a long time.
Right.
So long life riding is what I want to hit on. But yeah, I think it's good because it kind of teaches you characteristics of the trike, which completely different than a two-wheel bike where you're really balancing and you're playing it on the ground. Actually, just taught my first trike course. I had to go back down to Texas and teach for Cowboy down there. It was a good course.
About how many students do you have for that?
The max you can have for one coach is 4. The max you can have for 2 coaches, I believe, is 8, but it might be 6 because there's a lot more going on. But you can share the 3-wheel bikes on the trike course versus on a 2-wheel course. You have to have your own bike when you're out there.
Oh, okay. So
there's different limitations and rules in that. I'm getting into it. And they teach you all that through the rider coaching course. It's going through and getting the different courses really kind of open up your mind about how people ride, why they ride, and what's good about it. Texas was eye-opening because it really came down to these are just regular people. When you go through and you coach in the military, you expect everyone to have a certain aptitude. You can't always expect that in the civilian population. I'm not talking down about any of my candidates have come through and passed course, and those that have failed, because I believe that given the opportunity, people can pass the motorcycle safety
just training.
Course.
Just need more time, some people.
Yeah. You might have to go back through it, and if you do, that's okay. I know a rider coach, he took the BRC, he won 3 times before he passed. And now he's a rider coach. He knows what he's doing. He can teach, and he's a safe rider. But he did it. He's a rider coach now. So after teaching out in Texas for a year, I moved up to Salt Lake City, specifically the Ogden area. Kind of got here and was like, well, I don't want to give this up. Really scaled back the amount of time I'm coaching because up down there it was a full-time job. I was doing it 2-3 times a week. Taught 50 courses in a year. Here in Utah, I've taught 1 course a month. I was fortunate that I ran into Steve King with Learn to Ride Utah. I think that's who they are. They work through Salt Lake City Community College, and they have the course down in St. George, and they've got a couple in Taylorsville. They've got one of them up in Ogden. Him and I believe there's another commercial company, and I'm going to get their name wrong. It's probably they're based out of Ogden.
Yeah, I've seen. Is that the one that they are right behind the mall?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that one, and I think I know some people that have gone through it.
Yeah, they all teach the same thing. It's all the Motorcycle Safety Foundation basic course. Not every state uses MSF. Some of them use different applications, but it all teaches the same thing. Once you get your endorsement, you can change over. So got here, got my license to teach in the state of Utah. I had to give up my Texas license. I had my whole life and get a Utah license.
You had to give it up?
Oh, yeah. I had to give up my Texas driver's license, get a Utah driver's license.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So I'm licensed in Texas, in Utah, and I can teach for the military because I still have access to the base if they need anyone, if they know I'm available.
Have you done some at Hill?
Not at Hill. They have a pretty good rider coach roster, and then you have to maintain X amount of classes per 2 years to have a certification. If you
Gotcha.
don't do enough classes, you'll lose your certification. You got to go back there and requalify. With all that being said, through Salt Lake Community College, met Steve King, who is for all essential purposes the manager for the course, and then met Roger Bloomquist, goes by Swede. He's the Riding Academy manager down at Summit Harley Davidson in Linden. He used to be Timpanogos. Look, I'm just happy I'm getting that word right.
Timpanogos?
Oh, yeah, Timpanogos. I was like,
Timpanogos?
yeah, sure. We're going to get it. But the guys out at Summit Harley Davidson, coaching for them and for the guys out at Salt Lake Community College now and doing that monthly, offering the trike courses, offering, the basic rider course or the new riders course through Harley, and then the advanced riders course or the intermediate rider course, I believe was what they call it, through the college. So still doing that here, loving it.
What kind of bikes are they using for those two different, with that Slick and then Harley Davidson?
So with Slick, they're using a lot of the same bikes we already covered, along with Royal Enfields.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So the little 350s, they're using like the Hunter. What else? It's like the Hunter and the Meteor or something else. They're 350s. It's just all set up on how you want to ride it.
I think most of their bikes run on the same engine. I'm pretty sure when I looked at them, they have a couple newer ones that have different or upgraded engines, but when they were recently rebranded or rebought or whatever, changed manufacturers, I'm pretty sure that most of their engines are the same 350.
Yeah, it's a good engine. It's good for training. No complaints from it whatsoever. And I can only speak towards Summit. Mm-hmm. Summit has a mixture of the Harley Davidson Street 500, which was the old Riding Academy bike, and they're bringing in the XR 350, which is more of a sporty stance on it.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a naked bike style.
Yeah, but all motorcycles since, mid to late 70s are set up the same. Clutch, brakes, throttle, everything's the same. So if you can learn to ride on this one bike, you can sit on another bike, work with it for 2 or 3 minutes, and you should be comfortable on it.
Right.
So they're good bikes. I've had some folks come through that were, 6'8", 6'9". They wanted to get on that 350, and they got on it, and they're starting to hit the vehicle protection kit, which is all the crash guards they have on from Harley. And so we put them on the Street 500, which more of a cruiser style bike. They can kind of sit back and relax, and they fit on that one a little bit better. The great bikes, what I like to tell every student who comes through every class that I coach, go ahead and drop the bike you're on now, because you're going to drop a bike eventually. And if you drop this bike, there's a trained technician waiting to do something. He's wanting to get paid. So if you break it, they're going to fix it, and you already paid for it to get fixed, so don't worry about it.
So is that part of your fee is kind of the presumed maintenance cost?
Yeah, so in the state of Texas, you're limited at $300 per class. So most places charge between $250 and $300. You get some guys that charge $295 just because, look, we're $5 cheaper.
Oh. Thank you so much for saving me $5.
And then I think it's like $250 through Slick. And then with tax and everything down at Summit, it's $321.
Okay.
And if you successfully complete that course in the state of Utah through Slick or Summit, you can ride a motorcycle 650cc or lower.
Right.
Which to me is absolutely crazy, because I've seen people on CBR 600s that's not the same as a Harley 83 Sportster.
CCs doesn't always mean less power.
Oh, yeah, or the Sportster Nightster with the 975 Rev Max. That CBR or that Ninja or whatever it is you're on that's a 650 or lower, probably shouldn't be on that bike from the get-go.
They cook.
Oh, yeah, they do. I mean, buddies of mine that had them when we were younger, we did some dumb things on those bikes.
I've talked about it before with my FZ09. It's hard not to want to go fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the power just feels limitless,
Oh, yeah. What's the bike Yamaha makes? The FT07? Or
it's the like FZ.
FZ07?
Yeah, the FZ07. So they don't make the FZ anymore. I need to do more research, but it was basically, they had 2 different names depending on whether they were United States or foreign market. So there was the MT and the FZ. Okay. So now all MT, they were like the same exact motorcycle, essentially.
And my understanding.
So now the MT 07, 03, 05. I think there's 03, 05, 07, and 09, and then the MT 10. So the leader bike.
My understanding is that 07 engine is the same thing they put in the Tenere 700.
Oh, really?
My understanding.
I
could be wrong.
wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Because that would make sense.
That bike is just, it's sick crazy. Like, I want one real bad.
Yeah. And I think they have a 900cc engine version, or it has a different name. It is an adventure bike. It seems like I saw one when I went to the dealer the other day.
Not that I'm aware of, but I haven't really kept up on it too much. I do know they had the Super Tenere, which is a 1200. I'm not sure they still make that one.
Oh, maybe that's what I was seeing.
But that Super Tenere it's just a 1200 adventure bike. So they're amazing bikes. I really like when you get off the adventure train. But if you want to get a 650cc or larger, get that restriction removed from your motorcycle endorsement in the state of Utah, what you'll need to do is you'll actually have to go back to the same school probably, talk with the owner, and see how you can take your test on something that is over 650cc. Mm-hmm. Over at Slick, they got this little Suzuki S40, which is a little single cylinder. It's over 650cc. I think it's like a 649, but it's classified over 650. Take the test on that one. It's a little carbureted. Takes a little bit of warming up, a little bit of clutch work, and you get used to it. And then at Summit Harley, they make available to you the Harley 883 iron.
So when you do pass with the 650 restriction, is that on your license? It says 650 restriction?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay.
Because even on your completion card, we have to take a stamp and put either less than 650 or over 650. And they'll put that restriction on there.
Yeah, because I took my test with the DR 650, so I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, you're over.
I've never even really looked at it. Yep, just says motorcycle.
Yep.
So it would say like restriction 650 less.
Yep, it sure would.
Or 600 or less.
Yeah, under 600 or under 650. But as discussed, like,
that doesn't mean much.
Hey, an R6 and a CBR 600 and that Ninja 636R or whatever it is, that probably shouldn't be your first bike, in my opinion.
Well, and that's what I always tell a lot of people that ask me. I'm like, look, my opinion is that you take it on something like a Shadow 750, then you can ride whatever bike you want. You can sell that bike and move on to a bigger bike, and you don't have to go through the process of changing what your license says.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of effort when you could just do it the first time.
Yeah. Or, some states like Texas doesn't have a restriction. Once you pass.
Right.
I kind of liked the tier licensing thing. Europe does a very tiered. We didn't have to deal with that because of the Status Forces Agreement over there in Italy. But here in Utah, I do appreciate it. But I think it could probably use a little bit of refinement, my opinion. But, it is what it is on that one. But, yeah, all the instruction courses here in Utah are set up to get you on the road and get you riding. And it really doesn't matter which one you go to. It's going to be the same thing. They offer the 3.0 course. Like I said, I know that Intermountain offers the ADV course. I'm not sure that Slick or anyone else has picked up on the ADV yet because you have to have a different range set up for it. But
right. I mean, it would make sense you need some terrain to practice on or something.
Yeah, really would. I mean, yeah. It's mostly
I
just
don't know. I've never really done ADV riding before. I mean, I've done off-roading, but there are definitely certain roads that I've done, like dirt bikes, that I wouldn't take an ADV bike on.
Why not?
I don't know if I'd want that much weight. Now, this is personal, and it's probably just a training thing. But when I think of what I would want to do on an ADV bike is probably just dirt roads, not having to worry about needing a paved road. But with a dirt bike, I feel like it's lighter, it's easier to move around, and I can get on more rocky paths. I wouldn't have to worry about dropping it as much, but it's probably just a comfort thing.
I think it's a comfort thing. Also, how much you're going to spend on ADV because it's got cruise control and all the other stuff on there. The dirt bike probably isn't going to have it.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I mean, that's, all those courses that I've talked about, those are all courses to get you comfortable with riding. Those are not, I'm going to go out and I'm the best rider ever. Mm-hmm. Everything going forward, you got to practice on your own. You got to get out. You got to get out in the parking lot. You got to get down your street. You got to get onto the main road in town, and you got to work your way up to the interstate. I don't recommend anyone just jump on it and go. Stories of people leaving the dealership after they passed the course and they bought a bike, and rear-ended a big diesel truck right afterwards. And it's because they could, because they had the endorsement and everything was good to go, and weren't necessarily comfortable with it yet. And I always say work up to it, progress through. Really, to become like an expert rider, education never stops. You have to continuously find safe ways to challenge yourself. I'd recommend, we have a race course down here in Utah. It's like west of Salt Lake City.
I know,
off 80,
right? I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I know that the Bagger Racing League has been there.
Yes, they have.
So,
and they actually have some courses set up this year, or some classes set up for American V-Twins, air-cooled V-Twin bikes to get out there and race, which I think is cool. Phenomenal. You have to get your motorcycle license for racing, your racing license.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. Your bike's got to be set good to go on it. But
yeah, my bike's not.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I don't know. I went on a group ride with Tucker Speed, and I could not keep up with anybody.
That's your comfortability with your bike.
Yeah.
It really comes down to it, because last weekend I was on my buddy's VTX because my bike had been down for 6 weeks. And
was that the 1300 or the 1800?
It was the 1800. And thank God for Tucker Speed. They had my bike for 6 weeks, ferreting out like a little electrical gremlin I'd caused a couple of years ago. And they got it all sorted out, but I didn't get my bike back in time. And I was on my buddy's VTX and just wasn't comfortable on it. And then I got my bike back yesterday from those guys down at Tucker. And find yourself a mechanic when you can't do it yourself, and be honest with them about what you've done so they know where they're starting from. Yeah. I jumped on my bike and it was like I hadn't been off it. Just back down the curves, this, that, and the other, streets, lane filtering. I'm just comfortable on my bike because I've got miles underneath me with it. But take those bikes out to track days. You could take your bike out now and take it on track day, and you'll get a coach that will tell you how to improve what you're doing and make it better. And there's no better place to learn than in a safe environment. And a track is a very safe, controlled environment. It's going to cost you some money, but that money is,
well worth it.
Well worth it. Value to your life. Your family will value it. They won't value it in the moment when you're dropping, $600 because all the safety gear.
That's why I got to get through all those courses that the military will provide for.
Well, they do an ARC, and you could talk offline. I can get you the link for that stuff so you can sign up for it when they host them. But it's free to those in the military, and they do ARC, BRC2, and BRC1. And rarely you can find what they call the circuit riders course. When I was out in Hawaii, the coaches out there were certified to host it, and they shut down the Marine Corps runway and set it up out there. And there are guys out there on a bike like yours, just all the way over, just dragging, they lost a quarter of their bag that day because they just figured out how far they could really lean it. And just seeing what a bike can do and understanding your comfortability with it in a safe environment is the location to it. I don't recommend anyone jump on the street and try to do those things, or, right outside your comfort zone. Really build up to it.
Have that controlled environment to practice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, knowing your bike. And the only way to know your bike is ride it as much as you can, because it's hurting me here in Utah with the riding season. And I was sharing with you, I was riding in February. I went and got wind deflectors. I don't like them, but man, that makes a difference.
On the hands?
The wind's not hitting the gloves.
I think I've got to get some of those because I've got the raised bars, and so the fairing's not doing anything for them anymore.
Well worth the $70 at Tucker Speed, by the way. Another plug for those guys. Well worth it. And the technicians and the folks up at the front know. You just tell them what you have. They'll tell you which one you should be getting.
They're good people.
Yeah, they're amazing. It just getting out and riding as much as you can, as much as you feel safe doing. If you really limit yourself to only when it's dry and warm, late May to early September here. Well,
last couple of weeks.
Oh, well, heat gear, the old Under Armour heat gear that clinches to your skin, that stuff works really good. You wear that underneath a shirt and it'll create breeze across the sweat and actually cool you down, and it won't let it evaporate off the skin. Help keep you cooler, let you ride a little bit longer.
I like that. I'll have to look into that.
And a full face helmet. If there's one thing I beat home, full face helmet. You saw the helmet I brought in Of course, it is a Dynabro Simpson, Ghost Bandit, tough guy helmet. I bought it because I thought I'd like it, and it was a really good helmet. It's still a good helmet. I prefer my Arai. It's a little bit more quieter. The aerodynamics are a little more comfortable for my head. And then, of course, with every helmet, it's got to be the shape of your head. Mm-hmm. So it just fits my head better. Maybe because I've had it longer, but it fits my head. Full face helmet, save your jaw so you can actually chew food for when you go down, because it's going to happen. And then gloves, long sleeves, sturdy pants. I'm wearing some work pants right now because you want to wear something nice when you work an office job like I do full time, and then still be able to ride. So some sturdy pants, something over the ankle. All those things help long term.
Yeah.
So,
well, cool. Hey, I'm really grateful you're able to come on. Lots of good information, lots of things that I would never have thought of, and definitely motivated me to look into those courses. I think it's easy to become complacent when you've been riding so long. I never took intro riding course when I got my license. I just was a dumb teenager and wanted to ride, and I thought that just the experience I had, and then getting more experience just being out on the road was enough. So I'm excited to look into those, because I want to be the best rider I can be for my family, to when I do two-up riding or when I'm out by myself, because at the end of the day, we just got to make it home.
Yeah, something you brought up is having family ride with you. The BRC2 is designed where you can have a passenger on the back while you're in that course.
Oh, really? So
if you want your family to go ride with you and you want to get comfortable with them, that's a course you can take with your family member on the back of your bike. So, yeah, man, I'm all about it. Thanks for having me.
No, of course. We'll have to have you back on another time.
Would love to. Any topics open, I'm willing to give opinions.
Yeah. When we get more mics, I think it'd be fun to just have a rotating cast of people that can come on. We can talk about literally anything.
I think that'd be great. And I really appreciate what you're doing here in Utah. If you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Randy, the Motorcycle Rider Coach. On Instagram, I am Randy Moto Rider. And the last Wednesday of the month at the Lucky Slice Pizza in Clearfield. The guys down there have been very nice and have offered up a location for any motorcycle make, any motorcycle model, any style is welcome to come out and have a slice of pizza and a soda, 10% off with a helmet.
There you go.
And come out and meet some other people, and motorcycling social, come out and find some more people to ride with.
Sweet. So if you're looking for people to ride with, make sure to take advantage of that. But thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.